Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom, welcome back to today's Daf, which is Eruvin Daf Ayin Zayin. Perhaps let's take a quick look again at the Mishnah at the bottom of Ayin Vav Amud Beis. It says the Mishnah Koisel Shabashne Chatzeres. So we have two courtyards adjacent to each other and a wall, a koisel running right in between them. 10 tefachim high, 4 tefachim wide, in which case it creates a proper separation, creating two separate entities. These two chatzeres need to establish their own independent Erev chatzeres. They cannot join together as one because they're separated by mechitza. Suppose they did that. They made a separate Erev, one for each chatzer. So they can't transfer one to the other. But on top of this kaisel running between these courtyards, there was some fruit present on top of this kaisel, which has a surface of 4 tefachim wide, which is considered to be an entity on its own, and therefore doesn't really relate to any of these chatzeres, and therefore one can use that top surface freely, without any concern of Erev. The residents of either side of any of these chatzeres can go up to the top of the wall and partake in the fruit that is present there, provided they don't bring the fruit down to the chatzer. Meaning they can't transfer to and from the top of that wall, because that would require an Erev, because the top of the wall is now being used by both of them. It's a separate entity. It can't be connected to your chatzar unless you make an Erev to allow transferring one to the other. That's if we have a wall which is fully intact. Nifratz av kaisel. Let's say a breach formed and the kaisel opened up somewhere. Ad es amis, if the breach is up until 10 amis, ma'aver shnayim, v'imrotzu ma'aver nechad. Up until 10 amis is still considered a pesach. It's an access point from one chatzar to the other. What happens when there's a pesach between two chatzeres? That provides a double option. Ma'aver shnayim, if they want, they could still maintain their own separate, independent erevs. V'imrotzu ma'aver nechad. If they wish to, they can go ahead and join together in one erev, because they have a way to access. They have an access point, a pesach, between one and the other, which can theoretically merge them together into one usage area. Because this pirza, which is up until Tanamais, has a din of a pesach. If the pirza is greater than 10, now, inevitably they join together because this wall is obsolete. There's a huge pirza there. Therefore, we ignore the presence of this wall. Now we consider both chatzeres as though they've been merged together. They need to make one erev for both, and they can no longer establish their own separate independent erevs. Continues the Gemara. So we discussed a kaisel that has a top surface 4 tefachim wide, which case is considered to be an entity on its own. What if it does not have 4 tefachim in width? What is halacha there? This is considered like a mokim p'tur, an exempt area. It doesn't have a sheer mokim. So now, it's batal. It's considered to be subordinate to the chatzeres on either side. It doesn't have its own identity. So what is halacha in this case? Can they use the top surface or not? Amarav, they cannot use it at all. Avir shtei reshuyos sholetes boy. Both jurisdictions, both chatzeres, apply their jurisdiction to the top of the wall. They control it. It's considered to be an extension of their chatzar because it's batal to either side. In which case now you have a conflict. It belongs to either side. It identifies with this chatzar and with this chatzar. And as a result, he can't move even a small item the size of a hair's breadth. He can't even move that much because this place is jointly controlled by both chatzeres. So, in order to carry more than 4 amas, you need to have a Erev Chatzeres in this joint usage area. Therefore, says Rav, don't move even a small item without an Erev Chatzeres. Let's take a look at Rashi inside, 3 lines from the bottom. Avira Beis Rishuyah Shotes Bay. Even the Lechashiv Lemahavi Rishusa, since it's not large enough to be chashiv, to be considered its own rishus, batal Legabe Tavayu. It becomes attached, batal to the both chatzeres. Rishus Beis Chatzeres Shotes Bay. And both chatzeres control it. And they conflict with each other because it's a joint usage area. You can't carry them unless you make an Erev Chatzeres. And you can't even be metaltal on top of the wall. That's Rav Shita. He holds, since it doesn't have significance, it's batal to both, which makes it worse. Because they both control it, and it's considered to be something which identifies with both Chatzeres, which requires an Erev. Continues Gemara up on Ayin Zayin Amar. Rabbi Yechon Amar, just the opposite. Because it's lacking significance, it's a makam tur, then we don't have to reckon with it. The fellows of this chatzah can bring food up. They can transfer from their chatzah up until the top of the kaisel of Elu. And likewise, the fellows on the other side, malin mekan va'ichlin, they can bring up from their side onto the top of the kaisel and eat their food up there. Let's see Rashi inside on the top line here. Malin mechatzever and the reishay. They can bring things from their chatzah up to the top of the kaisel. Well, the Moridin, likewise, they can bring things down from the kaisel to their chatzah. Why? The makom pturu. Ubatal lekan lahaka. Rabbi Yechon says this is a makom ptur. It doesn't have a status of a rishus. It's less than 4 tefachim wide, in which case it's not reckoned with, and therefore there's no concern transferring to and from this area. So he takes the same svara and flips it around. He has a lenient application of this svara, being that it doesn't have chashivas, it's batal, it's a non-entity, and there's no need to make Erev Chatzeres whatsoever. Continues the Gemara. Tanan, we seem to have a kasha from our Mishnah on Rabbi Yehuda. Because our Mishnah speaks about this wall that has a surface area on top of 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim. And the Mishnah says they can both climb up to the top of the wall and eat there, but they can't transfer to and from that area. Tanan, Eilu Oilam Mikan Va'ichlin. These can these can go climb up on the wall Va'ichlin and eat the food that is present there. Ve'elu, likewise, the residents of the other chatzah. Oilin mikan va'oichan. They go from the other side and eat. Oilin in. They can go up and eat. Ma'alin loy. But they can't transfer things to the top of the wall. Now, Tesis points out, the obvious teretz would be that the Mishnah is speaking about a large and significant area, 4 tefachim. Why is that on a kasha Rabbi Yechon speaking about a small, insignificant area? So Tesis learns that at this point the Gemara figured that since we're dealing with the top of a wall, that's not a place which is regularly used. And therefore the Gemara doesn't differentiate between a larger size area, a smaller size area. If Rabbi Yechon allows transferring to a small sized area, the same concept will apply to a large sized area. Therefore there's no reason to differentiate, and the kasha from the Mishnah is intact. Mishnah tells us you can only climb up there and eat there. You can't transfer to the top of the wall. Says the Gemara, Hachi Ka'amar. This is exactly what the Gemara is going to answer. There's a difference between a large-sized area and a small-sized area. Yesh by arba. If the top surface of the wall is 4 by 4 tefachim, in which case it has a din of a rishus. In that case, oilin in, they can climb up there and eat mahalin, but they can't transfer anything because it's a separate entity. It has a din of a rishus. They're not allowed to transfer from their chatzar up to the top of the kaisel without an erev. So all they can do is climb up there and eat whatever is there. But if the top surface of the wall is smaller in size than 4 by 4, like the case that we are discussing, in which case it's a makom tur, in which case it's batal to either side, malinami. They can also bring things up onto the wall. They can transfer from the chatzar to this top surface, since it does not have a significance of a rishus. It's a makom tur. V'azza Rabbi Tamei. Rabbi Yechon's view here is consistent with his shita stated elsewhere, that a makom tur is batal the chiasa Rav Dimi. Rav Dimi came, Omar Rabbi Yechon. He stated the following name of Yechon. Makom she'ein ba arba al arba. You have an area, a small elevated area which is less than 4 by 4 tefachim, which is situated, for instance, between Rosh Hashanah and Rosh Hashanah. Muta levnei Rosh Hashanah, ulevnei Rosh Hashanah the katif olav. Both the people of Rosh Hashanah and Rosh Hashanah can put their loads on it, they can use it because it's batal to the Rishus Rabbim, it's batal to the Rishus Yachid. It's not considered like transferring something from one Rishus to the other. Provided they don't switch things, they don't actually use the Makam Tur as a transfer point between Rishus Yachid over to the Rishus Rabbim. That's Midrabanan, because it might appear to somebody like somebody carried from Rishus Yachid to Rishus Rabbim. Therefore, you're not meant to take something from Rishus Yachid, for instance, and transfer it through the Makam Tur, put it there, and then pick it up and bring it into Rishus Rabbim. Fine. But otherwise, unless you're actually transferring it from one Rishus to the other, they both can use it freely. The Rishus Yachid people can put their stuff on it. Rishus Rabbim can do likewise, because a Makam Tur is batal. It's batal to Rishus Yachid. It's batal to Rishus Rabbim. Says the Gemara. Fine. So this is Rabbi Yehuda L'Shitasai, and that's Rabbi Yehuda over here holds that members of both Chatzeris can freely use the top of this wall, which is batal. Says Rav Leslie de Rav Dimi. Does Rav not concur with this halacha of Rav Dimi that a Makam Tur is batal? And Rashi points out it's actually a brisa which teaches us this halacha. So how can it be that the Rav doesn't agree with it? Says the Gemara, in that case, where the Makam Tur is adjacent to Rishus Yachid, Rishus Rabbim, and the issue there is Malacha Veitzah, certainly Rav would agree that Makam Tur is not reckoned with. It's no concern. Because we're speaking about Rishus Mehatur, the concern is a Malacha Mehatur. Over here in our case, you know what we're speaking about? Rishus Rabbanan. The issue here is Erev Chatzeris. That's the whole concern, which is a din d'Rabbanan. When it comes to the Rabbanan, we find sometimes Chachamim reinforced their halacha. They applied it even more stringently than a Malacha HaTorah. The Chachamim also chizik l'devreim yoser mishal Torah. Chachamim reinforced their words, their takana, like the Erev Chatzeris takana, even more than they did Torah. For concern that perhaps people might neglect the Yisra D'Rabbanan. It's only D'Rabbanan, therefore the Chachamim reinforced and strengthened it. And they applied a chumrah to D'Rabbanan which is not even present by Deraisa. Therefore says Rav, I agree to the concept that a Makam Tur is batal to Rishus Yachid, Rishus Rabbim. But that's only when it pertains to a Malacha Deraisa. We say there's no concern there of transferring to Makam Tur. But when it comes to a issue of the Rabbanan, like Erev Chatzeris, a case is situated between two Chatzeris where the concern is the Rabbanan Erev Chatzeris, I'm more concerned here. And therefore, we're going to be machmer, even in the case of Makam Tur. Let's take a look at Rashi inside, 2 lines from the top. Makam she'en b'ei dalet. Roichav, it's less than 4 by 4 wide. V'oimed ben Rishus Yachid Rishus Rabbim. Situated between Rishus Yachid and Rishus Rabbim, basically heker. It has some sort of recognition, meaning it's not just a piece of floor, it's somewhat an elevated piece of property. You're going Gavoyim and Eretz Gimel. For instance, it's 3 Tvachim lifted off the ground. That's called the Makam Tur. V'lo haya roichav daled. Now, if it would be 4 Tvachim by 4 Tvachim in surface, haya nikra shis la'atzmai. It would be considered its own entity. V'abi karmelis, v'asal lakan lakan. That would be considered a karmelis, because it has some significantly sized surface area. Aval achshav nikra Makam Tur. Now that it's less than 4, it's a Makam Tur. Umuta lakan lakan. And as a result, the people on either side are allowed to lekatif olav master shalhem to place their load on this place. Uvashli achlifu d'Rabbanan. They shouldn't switch things around. They shouldn't transfer from one Rishus Yachid all the over to the other Rishus Rabbim. Dilu chiyuv leka. It says D'Rabbanan because really midaraisa is no chiyuv. There's nothing inherently wrong midaraisa. Even when one transfers from a Rishus Yachid to Rishus Rabbim through a Makam Tur. Why? Why is this not a din d'Oraisa? The be'inan akira mishasu v'anachal mishasu. Not Torah. The only way it's considered a malacha is if you lift something off one rishus and deposit it in the Rishus Rabbim. Right? So you take it from Rishus Yachid, lift it there, bring it all the way over directly and deposit in Rishus Rabbim or vice versa. As opposed to this case where the Makam Tur intersected. He picked it up from the Rishus Yachid. Makam Tur. He placed it in the Makam Tur. So that terminated the Mas Vakiru Makam Tur. And then lifted off the Makam Tur and placed it in Rishus Rabbim. So there was something in between. So it wasn't one continuous act of it. So Minat Torah, there's no Chiv, but Rabbanan. You're not meant to do it so that people wouldn't erroneously conclude from here that you can transfer directly from Rosh Hashanah to Rabbim. Okay, so that's a din d'Rabbanan. But in any case, when it comes to just placing your load on this Makam Tur, whether you're in a Rosh Hashanah or Rosh Hashanah, it's okay, because it's batal. So this is consistent with Rav Yechon's view that the Chatzar that has a wall next to it, which is narrower than 4 tefachim, is allowed to freely use that wall without any concern. Says Rav, less like the Rav Dimi. Rav doesn't hold it, it's bitzmiyah, meaning it's a wonder. Does he not hold? V'masnisi, v'mesechas shad perakam. This is a brayso. Oy v'dadon al skufa. Person can stand on the stoop in front of the home, which is a makam tur, and it's batal. Noitel ma'ani v'naisim loy, ma'abayis v'naisim loy. He can take something from the ani who's standing Shus Rabbim, and he can give him something back, because it's being transferred from a Shus Rabbim to makam tur. Likewise, he can turn inward to the Baal Bayis who's in the home in Shayachet and transfer freely. Baal Bayis for Noisim can take something from him, give him back something. Provided he doesn't take from the Baal Bayis in the Shayachet and uses himself as a transfer point to bring it out to the Onish Surah. As we mentioned before, we're not meant to transfer. So does Rav not hold of this? It's a brayso. And says the Gemara, that's speaking about Rosh Hashanah, Kagoyin Rosh Hashanah, the concern is a Malachim and Torah. So then, we apply this concept of Makam Tur being batal. In contrast to us, which is the Rabban, Chatzeris, the Rishus Yachid Yachidu, they really both are Yachid. With the Rabban, the Asa, it's only the Rabban, you can't transfer one to the other without an Erev. So the context here is Issa the Rabban, Chacham were more concerned by the Rabbanon, less people neglected, and therefore they reinforced the halacha and applied it even in the case of a Makam Tur. So conclusion, regarding using the Rosh HaKoisel, the top surface of the wall, which is situated between 2 chatzeres. So if it's 4 tefachim wide, all agree you can go up there and eat, because it's its own independent entity. What if it's not 4 tefachim wide? That's considered like a makam tur. As a result, Rabbi Yehuda says, people on either side of that koisel can freely use it, because it's batal. It's not reckoned with. Rav on the other hand says, no, don't move anything at all. Why? The one concluded that when it comes to Rishuyas Deraisa, he agrees. A Makam Tur doesn't have to be accounted for. Here it's Rishus D'Rabbanan. Speaking about the Chiyuv of Erev Chatzeres, Rishus D'Rabbanan, Chamum Machmer. And even when it comes to Makam Tur, now allow transferring. Continues the Gemara. Amar Rabba, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Nachum. Kaisel Shaben Shtei Chatzeres. So you have this wall running between 2 courtyards, and the top surface of that wall is more easily accessed by one chatzar than the other. It's within 10 tefachim to the chatzar. So you have a chatzar and a wall, which on one side is within 10 tefachim to the ground, and the other side it's 10 tefachim or more. So it's more easily accessed by one side over the other. Says Rav Nachman Chiddush, we're going to grant it. We're going to grant exclusive usage rights to the members of the Chatzar who can more easily access this wall. Kaisel Shabei Shnei Chatzeres. You have a kaisel between 2 Chatzeres. So this is the kaisel we discussed in our Mishnah. You have a Chatzar on either side. It's Bein Shtei Chatzeres. Tzidei Echad Gavoya Aseret Tefachim. On one side, the top of the wall is lifted 10 tefachim off the surface of the ground below. However, on the other side, it's equal to the ground. Rashi and Tosfos both point out, it doesn't mean it's equal, rather it means that it's within 10 tefachim. So it's more easily accessible, because the distance between the ground and the top of the wall is less than 10 tefachim. So what's the halacha there? Noisin oisoi lezeh sheshav haaretz. We grant exclusive rights, exclusive usage rights of the top of that wall to the chatzar who is closer to the top of the wall, the one that's within 10 tefachim to the top of the wall. Why? Mishum dahava lezeh tashvisha benachas. Because when we encounter such a situation where we have an area which, to the members of this chatzar, is tashvisha benachas, it's more accessible. It provides for more convenient use. In contrast to the fellows on the other side, who are going to use this surface of the wall with difficulty, because it's above 10 tefachim. So since we have such a situation where it's closer to this one than to that one, whenever we encounter such a scenario where this surface is more easily accessible to one than to the other, we grant it to the one who can more easily access this area. It's considered to be his usage area. It's considered to be an extension of his property. Now, of course, we're not speaking about granting it to him as far as ownership. It's a Shabbos halach. Meaning there's no need for him to involve the other chatzar in the Erev Chatzeres here. It's considered to be his area of usage. Exclusively his. Without any interference from the other side, because it's an extension of his chatzar. Because he, and only he, can easily access this area. Let's take a look at Rashi inside. Around 20 lines from the top. It says Rashi, "V'tzidei echad shavel haaretz." So we have this kaisel, which on one side is lifted 10 off the ground, on the other side it is within 10 to the ground. K'leimer gavoyu min ha'achas, v'nomachu lechavert. On one side, he's 10 tefachim off the ground. On the other side, he's within 10 tefachim to the ground below. For instance, one chatzer's level is higher than the other. That results in this type of scenario. And Rashi points out that although the Gemara says shavel haaretz, the top surface is level to the ground, it doesn't literally mean level. It means kol kamet lo gavah yud, as long as it's not situated at a distance of 10 tefachim from the earth below, korele shavel haaretz, that's what the Gemara describes as being shavel haaretz. The point here is that it's within 10 to the ground. That makes for easy use and easy access. Nice and oisai, therefore we grant it, lahalos lahard mi olav, we grant it to the fellow who has it easier. He's allowed to transfer up on top and the transfer down from the wall. The chaver asur, and the friend on the other side is asur. That's what Racham's chiddush. That the one who has more convenient and easy access, he attains exclusive rights. Continues the Gemara. Just as this applies regarding the top surface of a wall, it's going to apply regarding a charetz, a furrow, a ditch, which is present between two chatzeres. We'll also grant it to the chatzer who can more easily access it. Amar Shezvi Rav Nachman, charetz sheben shtei chatzeres, if you have this furrow between two courtyards, tzidei echad amak asara, relative to one side, meaning one chatzar has it difficult. It's the bottom surface of that charetz is 10 tefachim in depth, 10 tefachim deeper, lower than his chatzar surface. In contrast to the chatzar on the other side, which has it easier. The bottom surface of the charetz is within 10 to his surface. So what happens now? We grant exclusive rights to the chatzar who's closer. Same concept. We have an area which is more easily accessed and provides more convenient use to one over the other. He is granted exclusive rights. He can use it freely without involving his neighbor in the Erev Chatzeres. Now, why this repetition? Why does Rav Nachman need to teach us this halacha in two ways, two applications, one regarding a wall, one regarding a furrow? It says both are needed. Yashmin and kaisel. Had he only taught us this application of the kaisel, I would say, well, yeah, it makes sense that we grant exclusive rights to the chatzar, which finds himself closer to the top of the wall, because that's an area which is properly used. People use the top of the wall to store their things because it's up high, it's easy to access. But a furrow which is down below, it provides it's a difficult usage area. But people don't generally use spaces down below. So perhaps in this case we can't apply this formula. The formula here is based on ease of use, convenient access. Now, if this area doesn't really provide proper use, it's not a conveniently used area, this whole formula doesn't hold water. Why give it to him over him? None of them has proper use of this charetz. So perhaps we can't apply this formula. And therefore, Rav Nachman teaches us, no, even in the case of a charetz, despite its drawback, we still consider it to be an area which provides proper usage and is granted to the chatzar, which can use it more conveniently. Had he only told us this halacha by the faro, I would say, yeah, over there, he gets exclusive rights. Because people are not concerned about using it, meaning they have no concern putting stuff in the furrow. Contrast to the wall, which prevents some sort of scare, some sort of concern. It's be'isa. This means scary, but here it means that there's a concern regarding putting stuff on top of the wall, concern that it might fall down, break. So perhaps due to that drawback, it's not considered to be a proper usage space. And therefore perhaps we can't apply this formula. We can't grant it to him over him because the whole concept is based on ease of use and convenient makam shimush. This is not really a proper makam shimush to begin with. Perhaps you can't apply this formula tzricha. Therefore, Rav Nachman needs to teach us that we apply this formula in both cases. Whether it's the furrow down below, the kaisel up above, despite their drawbacks, they are still considered to be proper areas of use, and if it is more conveniently accessed by one chatzar over the other, he is granted exclusive rights over that area. He can use it freely without involving his friend and without making an eruv chatziros. Continues the Gemara. Let's get back to the kaisel, which was 10 tefachim high, situated between both courtyards. Balamate. Let's say this fellow on one side of the wall would like to lessen the height of that wall, and as a result, have it to be considered like a place which is more easily accessed by him than by the fellow on the other side. He wants to be granted exclusive rights. So let's say he piles up a mound of earth at the foot of the wall, which will result in lessening the distance between the ground below and the top of the wall. So the halacha is like this: if this mound of earth is 4 tefachim wide, so it's 4 by 4 tefachim. So you have the wall, a mound of earth. It's 4 tefachim wide, and it also runs 4 tefachim along the wall. So that's considered to be a shear of a Pesach, and as a result, we consider him as the person having access to the top of the wall, because let's remember the distance between the top of the mound and the top of the wall is less than 10 tefachim. So he has exclusive access to the wall, and it's considered to be his makam shimush. If it stretches, if it runs 4 tefachim along the wall, this allows him, exclusively him, to use the entire top surface of the wall. But if it doesn't have that dimension, it's not 4 tefachim along the wall, in which case it's not wide enough to be considered a sheer Pesach. In this case, he can use the top of the wall, but only right above that mound of earth. So we have the wall, and the mound is here. He can't gain access to the entire wall, but he can have exclusive access to the area right on top of this mound. Says the Gemara, what do you mean? Is it a Pesach or is it not a Pesach? Does it provide access to the wall? Then get the entire wall. Otherwise, get nothing. Manavshach. How are you working this out? If this miut, this mound which is lessening the distance from top of the wall to his property, is effective, let him be granted rights to the entire wall. If it's ineffective, then he shouldn't acquire the space even on top of that miut, on top of that mound. We're not speaking about placing a mound of earth down at the foot of the wall. We're speaking about he removed a layer from the top of the wall. So this is his property. He has a wall, which is 10 tefachim high. He'd like to acquire exclusive access to the top of the wall. So he goes in and bores, he pulls a layer off the top of the wall. And this results in the space between that portion and the bottom of the wall being less than 10 tefachim, to provide him access to the top of the wall. So halacha here will be that if the layer that he pulled off the wall is 4 tefachim along the wall, that's considered to be a sheer Pesach that gives him proper access. That's considered to be a proper access point to the top of the wall. In which case, only he has access to the top of the wall, and it's all his. But if it's less than 4 tefachim wide, then it cannot be considered a Pesach. That's not considered to be an access point to the top of the wall. So he doesn't have the rest of the wall. What does he have? He certainly has that spot, because that spot is within 10 tefachim to the bottom of the wall. So that spot is considered to be his. So that's a pshat in the halach. If he's bola mata, meaning he pulls a layer off the top of the wall, if it's 4 tefachim wide, that's a pesach to the rest of the wall, so he acquires shimush on the whole wall. But if it's only a small portion, less than 4 tefachim, then that's not considered to be an access point to the rest of the wall. But he still has something. He can use that portion because that portion is practically within his 10 tefachim. And therefore it's considered to be exclusively his usage area. Omar Bechil, I have another example of lessening the distance between floor to wall. Kafa Sefer. Let's say he inverted a pail. He took a pail, used it as a step, placed it upside down near the wall. Now, of course, we're speaking about 4 by 4 tefachim. Memait, that will be effective. Says the why? V'amai davar nito b'Shabbosu. A pail is something you can just remove on Shabbos. V'davar nito b'Shabbos eino memait. Something which can be removed on Shabbos doesn't really have permanence. It's not considered to be memait. It's not really lessening anything. It's just something portable and temporary. That can affect the configuration and ratio and distance between floor to wall. Apparently, we're speaking where he inserted the pail partially into the ground. Now it's stuck, will remain there, and can be effective in lessening the distance between floor to wall. Even in that case, why has he accomplished anything? That also can be pulled down on Shabbos without any concern. But Tanya, we learned in the Brisa, this fellow took a unripe fig and covered it with hay, which is muktzah, in order for it to ripen. Charora is something like a baked item that he covered with gecholim, with coals, which were still lit during the ben hashmashas of Shabbos. So although now they've been extinguished, but they remain muktzah. So we have 2 things sitting on the muktzah. Can he pull them out on Shabbos? Depends. If part of it is exposed, in which case he can grab onto that portion, they tell us for Shabbos. It can be pulled out on Shabbos, despite the fact that he's going to be shaking off that muktzah as he pulls the thing out. Likewise, this pail, although it's inverted in the ground, he can pull it out without any concern on Shabbos. We're speaking about the Islayo Gnai. This pail has ridges. So he overturned the pail that has ridges coming out. Now these ridges are now being covered with earth. So in order to pull out the pail, he has to lift the earth. It's not just shaking it off, he has to actually lift it because it gets lifted together with the ridge of the pail. And then he can shake it off. So perhaps that's considered to be a more direct tiltal of muktzah, and that can't be done on Shabbos. And therefore, it provides an effective miyut, lessening of space between floor to wall, because it's stuck there throughout Shabbos. So that's more, what's the concern? Even that can be pulled out on Shabbos. Because he's not directly interacting with muktzah. He's pulling out the pail. So some dirt comes with it, that's okay. We learned in the Mishnah. This fellow hides some turnip, some radish under the vine for storage purposes. When some of the leaves are exposed, in which case he doesn't have to directly touch the earth, which is muktzah. He can simply pull it out by its leaves. And there's no concern of muktzah. And there's no other concerns as well. There's no concern about kalayim, because he hadn't really planted it under the vine. Now Tosfos points out that for the other concerns, kalayim and meiser and shvius that we're going to mention soon, there's really no need to have the leaves exposed. It would be mutter in any case. The reason why the Mishnah mentions exposed leaves is strictly on account of Shabbos, in order to avoid muktzah. Because the exposed leaves allow him to pull it out without interacting with the earth below. Fine. So that's why the Mishnah mentions exposed leaves. But in any case, there's no concern whatsoever in this scenario. It's not an issa kalayim because he's not planting 2 species next to each other, just storing the vegetables underneath the vine. There's no concern that perhaps this vegetable took root and began growing down there and he has to go ahead and separate some maser. No, Rashi says, lo nishrish. It hadn't rooted. Therefore, it's not considered to have been planted. Nor is there any concern of doing this on Shvius. He's not planting. And he can pull it out on Shabbos, despite the fact there's lots of dirt being removed here. This thing is fully buried in the ground. There's some leaves sticking out. When he picks this thing up, it's going to be some dirt lifted together with the vegetable, at least for the time being. I'll shake it off. But it's a very direct tiltal of muktzah. Still, we see it's mutter. It's considered to be an indirect tiltal, and it's mutter likewise in the case of the pail. Even if it has ridges which support some of the earth sitting on it, he's allowed to pull out that pail. That's mutter on Shabbos. So how can a pail be used to be memayit the goyv of the kaisel? Kaisel 10 tefachim high. He'd like to lessen the height, the distance between kaisel to floor, to give him exclusive access. How can a pail accomplish that? If a pail is something you just pull away on Shabbos, I can't effectively change the configuration of that structure. It says in Tzrich, apparently we're speaking about the boy mor v'chatzina. The pail has been so deeply embedded in the ground, and it would require a tool to get it out. A mora, a shov, a chatzina, an axe to dislodge it, which is a malacha min HaTorah. So since you can't remove it on Shabbos, we consider it to be a permanent fixture here, and can effectively reduce the height of the kaisel, and now we will consider the top surface of the kaisel to be within 10 tefachim and accessible to this person, and granted exclusively to him. Continues the Gemara with a couple of other examples of reducing the height of the kaisel. Let's begin with a ladder. Let's say he leans a ladder against the wall. Does that grant him exclusive rights to the top of the wall since it's now accessible to him? Says the word depends what type of ladder. Depends what size ladder. Sulam ha-mitzri einu emayit. If it's a small size ladder, mitzri is either, it's used in a Mitzrayim, or mitzri perhaps means the restriction, mitzarim. So it's a small size ladder, in which case it's portable and not deemed as a permanent fixture there and can effectively reduce the height of the wall. So sulam mitzri einu emayit. It's ineffective. Vatsuri, a larger size ladder, which is considered to be a permanent fixture there, mimayit, it can reduce the height of the wall. Heichi dami sulam mitzri. What is an example of a sulam mitzri which does not work? Amrit ve'Rabbi Yanai. So he said in the Beis Medrash of Rabbi Yanai, Kol she'ein le'abo chavakim. A sulam mitzri describes a ladder which does not have 4 rungs. So since it's such a small size ladder, it's ineffective. Amalei Rav Acha, Bred Rav Larvash. My time with the sulam mitzri le'mayit. Why doesn't this small size ladder reduce the height of the wall? Amalei told him, Lo shmilach. Did you not hear this? The Amar Achbar Ada Amar Rav Amnun Amar Rav. Mishum dahavali dabash nitul b'Shabbos. Because it's something that can be simply removed from place on Shabbos. V'chol dabash nitul b'Shabbos einu memayit. And something like that, something that can just disappear on Shabbos, can't effectively reduce anything. It can't be regarded as a factor here that will lessen height of walls. It's just a temporary phenomenon. So that's why the small size ladder is ineffective. If that's the case, even a large size ladder, one can pull it away on Shabbos. There's no malacha involved. So why is it effective? It says more hasam koivdoi koivoi. You're right. Both things can be removed on Shabbos. It's not halachic limitation here. It's koivdoi. It's weight. The fact that a large size ladder is heavy, that it inevitably leads somebody to just leave it there. Hasam koivdoi koivoi. The fact that it's heavy, that results in permanence. And therefore, it can be considered as a reducer of the height of the wall. Now we're going to speak about another application of this concept. Let's say we have a wall between 2 chatzeres, and now we learned in the Mishnah, if there's a pesach, a point of access along the wall, which allows the bnei chatzeres to cross over, that provides them with the option of joining together in one eruv. Says Abaye, a ladder can also provide that. It can be considered a pesach. So you have a wall and a ladder on either side. That creates an access point. It's like a Pesach. It says, Abaye koisel shebei shtei chatziros. Gavoy 10 tefachim. This wall is 10 tefachim high. V'niach sulam merochav abo mikan. And he placed a 4 tefach wide ladder alongside one side of the kaisel. V'sulam merochav abo mikan. And likewise, another ladder, 4 tefachim wide, on the other side of the wall. So this provides access to both chatzeros. Ve'ein bein zel zeh shleisha tefachim. Mimayit. So we have a wall, and the members of this chatzer lean their ladder on the wall. The members of the other chatzer did likewise. Now, how close are these ladders to each other? So we have them like this, against the wall. So if they're within 3 tefachim of each other, which is lavud, considered to be closed and connected, then we consider them to both be part of the same access point. They combine to join that Pesach and connect the 2 chatzeros. They now have the option of joining together in Eruv. But if they're too far apart, they're unrelated, they don't connect to each other. And they cannot form that access point to connect the 2 chatzeros. The space between them is less than 3 tefachim. That's effective. Mimayit here means that it's as though the wall is lower than 10 tefachim, meaning we consider this to be a Pesach to connect both areas into one usage area, and they can make one eruv together. Shloisha, the space between the 2 ladders is 3 tefachim or more, einu mimayit, it's ineffective. This limitation, this 3 tefach law, only applies eladili have a kois labo. If the top surface of the wall is not 4 tefach wide, in which case it's kind of difficult to walk on it, and therefore the 2 ladders won't connect. There's no way to get from one to the other. I will have a kois labo, but let's say the top of the wall is 4 tefach wide, in which case it's an easily traversed surface. One can easily walk on top of that wall and get from one ladder to the other. Afilu muflik tuvanami. In that case, even if the ladders are far apart, they join and combine together to create a Pesach. You go up one ladder, you walk across the top of the wall, and go down the other ladder. This is going to be another version of being a Ma'it, the Kaisel. You have a Chatzar, but a Kaisel. He'd like to create an access point to the Kaisel to attain exclusive rights for himself. How he's going to attain access? He's going to create a shelf, some type of structure, some type of stage, an itzvah, some type of platform along that wall. So now, if the platform is within 3 tefachim to the ground, so that is considered to be a proper step up to give him access to the wall. And also it's 4 tefach by 4 tefach. So it's a proper shear of a Pesach. Then, if the space between that platform and the top of the wall is less than 10 tefachim, then he has attained access and he gains exclusive rights to the top of the wall. Now let's say he created an itztuba, this platform, but it's less than 4 tefachim wide. It doesn't run 4 tefachim along the wall. It doesn't have a sheer Pesach. But he made another itztuba on top of that, another shelf right on top of that. And that one has proper dimensions. It's 4 by 4 tefachim. Problem is that one is not close to the ground. It's up in the air. So what do you do then? If you form one platform on top of the other. If the bottom one runs 4 tefach along the wall, it's effective. Alternatively, let's say the bottom one does not run 4 tefach along the wall, doesn't have proper dimensions. But the second one, up above it, is properly conformed, it's 4 tefach wide. And the distance between both platforms is less than 3, in which case we deem them to be one and the same entity connected, it's effective. So although the bottom one doesn't run 4 tefach along the wall, but since the top one does, and the top and the bottom one connect with each other, they join together to form that stepping stone up to the step ladder up to the wall, and it is now accessible to him, and he has exclusive rights to the top of the wall. And again, because the bottom platform is within 3 tefach to the ground, and therefore it's considered to be close enough to be accessible. It's like a step leading up to the wall. And since the top one has the 4 tefach, and that connects to the bottom one, so it's a properly conformed step. V'omar Rav Nachman Amar Rav Avua. So Rav Nachman said in the name of Rabbi Bar Avua, Sulam. Same concept will apply to a ladder. Sulam sheshlibois of perchas. We have this step ladder. So a ladder with some rungs, one on top of the other. The same concept will apply. How wide does the rung need to be? We're speaking about a ladder that's placed against this wall to create access to the wall, to give him exclusive rights to the wall. So the rung needs to be 4 tefach wide, like a Pesach. Im yesh v'shliva tachtoin arba b'mayit. So if the bottom rung, meaning the one that's within 3 to the ground, which is easily accessible to him, so if that one is 4 tefach wide, runs 4 tefach along the wall, b'mayit, it's effective. Inami, alternatively, im v'shliva tachtoin arba. Let's say the bottom one is not 4 tefach along the wall, it doesn't have the proper width. But v'yesh v'shliva al yoin arba, the rung right on top of it has the proper dimensions, 4 tefach wide. Ve'ein bein zel is shleisha, and the space between the first and second rungs is less than 3 tefachim, which is loved. Anything less than 3 is considered to be one and the same. Then it's effective, because although the bottom rung doesn't have the proper width, it's not 4 tefach wide, it will connect with the upper one, they become united together, and we deem the rung to have the proper dimensions. It's 4 tefach wide, and will provide him access to the top of the wall, and it effectively reduces the distance between the top of the wall and his chutzner. It makes it accessible to him, in which case he attains exclusive access. He himself can use it on Shabbos without reckoning with his neighbor on the other side of the wall. So in summary, Rav Nachman taught us that if there's a wall or a charetz, a furrow, situated between 2 chatzeres, who do we grant it to? We give it to the one who has an easier time using it, who has more direct access, the one who is within 10 tefachim to that surface. Now let's say we have a wall which is 10 tefachim high, and he'd like to go ahead and mimayit. He'd like to reduce the distance from the top of the wall to his ground surface below, in order to make it accessible to him, so that he attains exclusive rights. He can do this provided that he creates this access point, which is 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim, which has a din of a Pesach. We have 4 examples of this concept. We have the case where he removes akar chuli morosh, he removes a layer, the top layer of that wall. Then we're told as well, if it's 4 tefach along the wall, that creates a proper access point, and the whole entire top of the wall is granted to him. If it's less than 4 tefach wide, he doesn't get the entire wall, but he has that portion, because that portion is within 10 tefach to the surface of the ground below. If he takes a seifel, a pail, and turns it upside down to use it as a step ladder up to this wall, and it's deeply embedded in the ground, which requires a malacha to remove, then it's considered to be a permanent fixture there for Shabbos, and effectively reduces the distance from the top of the wall, and he is considered to have exclusive access there. We learned about a ladder, a sulam atzuri, which has at least 4 rungs, that has been established by the Chachamim as a properly sized ladder. It's considered to be a significantly sized ladder, a heavy ladder, and that's considered to be a permanent structure, permanent feature there, which provides him access to the top of the wall, and effectively reduces the distance from the wall to his chutzner, and therefore the wall is granted to him. We concluded with the case of an itztava, which is a platform or a shelf built alongside that wall, and it too can reduce the distance, give him access to the top of the wall, allowing him exclusive rights and use of the wall. We also learned about creating a Pesach between 2 chatzeres using ladders. You have a ladder on either side of the chutzner, of the wall, that provides Pesach, creates an access point between both chatzeres. And the Gemara told us that the ladders need to be within 3 tefachim to each other in order to combine, make one Pesach, going from one side of the wall to the other. But if the Reish HaKessler is wide enough to walk on it properly, it's 4 tefach wide. In this case, it's irrelevant how far apart the ladders were placed. Okay, time for a quick chazara of today's daf. We began with the Mishnah, which described a wall which is running between two chatzeres. What is the halacha about using the top of that wall? So if it's 4 tefach wide, the members of both chatzeres can go up there and use it. They can eat the fruit that's sitting on top of the wall, because it's considered to be a separate entity. If the top of the wall is less than 4 tefach wide, which is considered to be a makam tur, Rabbi Yehuda says it's batal, and therefore everybody can transfer to and from that area. Rav says you can't move anything there. So although when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Hashanah, which involves the Malacha D'Oraisa, Rav says the makam tur is batal, and one can freely transfer to and from a makam tur. When it comes to our context, which is a din d'Rabbanan involving a erev chatzeros, Chacham were concerned and wanted to reinforce the din d'Rabbanan, lest people neglect it, and therefore we're machmer. Even when it comes to makam tur, they can't both access it unless they make an erev chatzeros. We conclude with a concept of easy access. So if we have a wall between two chatzeros, the one has easier access, more direct use. It's within 10 tefachim to his property. He attains exclusive rights over that wall, and he can use it on Shabbos without involving his friend in the erev chatzeros. And the Gemara gave us several examples of it: removing the top layer of the wall, inverting a pail, using a ladder, creating a platform along the wall. And the Gemara told us this concept of a ladder can be applied even to create a Pesach between both chatzeros.